Family Fights with Kyle Harrison and Matthew Blumenthal. Boom, there's your intro. How'd I do?
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Family Fights podcast. I'm Kyle Harrison. With me, as always, is my little cousin, Matthew Blumenthal.
How we doing, everyone?
Thank you, Chael Sonnen, for our awesome intro. As always, we're going to start off with some current events. Lots of drama still residing after UFC 270. We were pretty upset with Dana White for not belting Francis Ngannou, and he's come out with his excuse, 4 days later?
Yeah, I guess he needed his time to create it.
Yeah, if you didn't hear his excuse, all he basically said was, listen, I had to take care of something backstage, and I missed the fight. Sorry. That was the excuse. That's what he took 4 days to come up with, and I'm just not buying it. What about you?
I'm not buying it completely either. I'm not going to say that there wasn't anything that he had to deal with, but the fact that it was a big enough deal that he missed the heavyweight main event, and he missed a press conference, and we don't even know what the issue is, that would have to be a pretty big issue that would probably get out to the media pretty quickly, quicker than the 5 days that it took Dana White to respond. And then even if he did have to deal with an issue, not walking into Francis's locker room for 2 minutes to say congratulations after Francis claimed that they were getting on better terms with their relationship, and you can't even go say, hey, congrats on winning a massive fight in that manner. I don't buy his excuse.
Yeah, I agree. He just didn't even give an excuse for missing the press conference either. He just said I missed the main event. He said he missed the whole main event, which I don't buy either. It's just crazy to me.
I mean, I'd like to go watch the fight and see if we can see if he's in the crowd or not. I mean, I definitely think he definitely saw it because they've got TVs and monitors all around back there for people to see what's going on in the arena. So it's pretty hard for me to believe that he didn't see it at all.
Yeah, I agree. I think that this further supports the fact that he didn't want Francis to win. And speaking of Francis, I saw today that he's expected to be out for 9 months.
Yeah, that's a pretty serious surgery. A completely torn MCL with damages to his ACL and other parts of his knee. And especially, not only just that, he's a big guy too, and a lot of weight down on those small joints. I mean, the knees might be the most important joint on the leg, but it's also one of the smaller ones. So yeah, it's rough.
I just have to go grab my computer charger.
All good. Yeah, if you guys didn't know, I tore my ACL this week, so I definitely have an idea of what Francis is going through, and also having to sit out because I haven't been to my training sessions either. So definitely feel for Francis and hope that he comes back strong.
And my foot's been broken for the past
Kyle broke his foot kicking me.
So that's been fun. Haven't been able to train.
I also realized that, remember how I injured my knee in that training session too, and that's why I shot for takedowns in that last round?
Yeah, a little bit.
Same knee. That was what started all of it.
Sorry, not sorry. That's the game.
Rough training session.
Okay. Moving on to our next topic. Fernand Lopez being an idiot. That's what I have in our notes. But basically what I read was that Fernand Lopez, Cyril Gane's head coach, didn't give any credence to the rumors that Francis Ngannou's knee was hurt. Basically, he said, I didn't believe the rumors were true, so I told Cyril not to kick Francis's leg or not to go after the knee, which is just... I mean, even if the rumors weren't true, wouldn't you just take a chance and try kicking his knee? Like, what's the worst that's going to happen?
Exactly.
You're going to land a leg kick. Worst thing that's going to happen is you're going to land a leg kick. Best thing that's going to happen is his knee is torn to bits, which it was, and you win the fight. We talked about this last episode, but Fernand Lopez has already probably made a case for worst coach of the year.
Yeah, I also think he's already locked up for the most paranoid coach of the year. I mean, this dude was so scared of Francis. How do you ditch an entire game plan months of game planning leg kicks just because you think Francis is faking a knee injury. He said that he didn't believe Francis hurt his knee and that they had a counter. And so he told Gane, don't kick him, he's going to counter you. You will get knocked out. How are you so paranoid that you change a game plan that you've been working on for months? And even you could see when Cyril did throw a leg kick, he was barely touching. He was leaning his head
at
back.
one point he threw like 6 leg kicks in a row that
but it just
he was like
him.
leaning back for.
Yeah,
right.
And okay, now maybe you ditched the game plan in rounds 1 and 2, and you're like, oh, okay. When it comes to round 4 and it's 2-2 on the scorecards, I don't care if Francis has a counter. I don't care if you think he's faking this. You have to win the fight. Take a chance to do it. And he was so paranoid that they were creating like a whole new language too. Like they learned all of Lopez said this in his interview with Ariel Helwani, that they had different words and they used different languages for all the kicks that Cyril was going to throw, so that Francis wouldn't know if Fernand liked the kick or not. Like, they were speaking an entire different language. They were worrying so much about what Francis was going to do that I don't think Lopez focused enough on what Gane was going to do.
That's really interesting. I never thought about that. You think it got in Lopez's head that he was fighting his ex-protege?
I for sure did, because I'm a big believer in hockey, baseball, or not really much baseball, but hockey and fighting. Worry about what you do well. Don't change your entire game plan because of your opponent. Make them adapt to you. And he forced his fighter to fight way out of his element, and it got him cost. And then he also defended the heel hook. Like, I defended going for it, but then Fernand said on the podcast with Helwani that he thought that Cyril was in a really good spot and was doing the entire move correctly and told him to keep going. Like, how bad of a coach you have to be to change a game plan and then watch your fighter lose?
And anybody who knows jiu-jitsu knows that heel hook wasn't close to being finished.
And for fuck's sake, I barely know jiu-jitsu, and I was pretty confident that Francis was out of it.
Right. Moving on from one horrible coach to one coach that really shined on UFC 270, and that's Eric Niksicks. Matthew actually brought this to my attention earlier today, so I'm going to let him intro it, but Niksicks said some things about the UFC PI.
Yeah, Niksicks was also on Ariel Helwani's show and did a great interview. I think Niksicks over these last few weeks has shot up my ranks of favorite coach. He's definitely number 2, and if I could choose anywhere in the world to train, I feel like I'm going to Extreme Couture at this point. But Extreme Couture is in Las Vegas, and so is the UFC PI, so his fighters use the PI a lot, especially Francis Ngannou, and he said nothing but good things about it, and even Niksicks said the PI has done great things for us, but it has one flaw, and that it is all made out of glass, which means you can see everything. You can see training sessions. You can see when a fighter is getting worked on. So he was very confident that people saw Francis getting his knee worked on by the doctors at the PI. And, one guy sees it, he tells his friend, and suddenly the entire MMA world knows about it. And the way...
Yeah, it's pretty surprising that the rumor wasn't, gaining more traction farther away from the fight. I didn't hear about it until after the fight.
Yeah, me neither.
It's really impressive that they managed to keep it under wraps.
I heard that the very, very inside of the MMA world, the deep reporters and some coaching staffs knew about it, and then the commentators obviously had some inclination about it. But Niksicks said that he knew the world was starting to know when he saw the betting line move. And everyone, even some of my friends at school, were asking me, hey, Matt, why the hell is Francis Ngannou the betting underdog? And it was because people started to learn about this injury, and that's when he went to plus money.
Interesting, yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it could be kind of a conflict of interest. I said this to you earlier today, but a total conflict of interest when all fighters have access to this one place and everybody sees the same doctors, everybody sees the same coaches, everybody uses the same facilities. I think, don't get me wrong, I think it's wonderful what the UFC does for the fighters at the PI, but it could get a little sketchy when you are training in the same place that a potential opponent of yours is also training. I mean, we see the drama that goes into these matchups with former training partners. it's just never good. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, and if anything comes of Eric Niksicks' comments. Like, I wonder why he made these comments. Like, did something happen? Like, was there an encounter that we don't know about, or maybe something got leaked, or someone was caught filming? Who knows?
Right, and even if like the doctor doesn't tell you, which obviously the doctors won't do, it could be a file accidentally left out and someone just flips it. Right.
Literally anything. Literally, like you said, you see somebody through the glass getting worked on.
Yeah. Like,
you see somebody's back getting worked on, and you know that person has a bad back, and then maybe you fight them down the line in 2 fights. Then you know, oh, this person has a bad back. I saw him getting worked on at the PI.
And it's not even an injury. It could be, let's say I'm in a sparring session with a sparring partner, and I keep getting caught in a submission, or I'm specifically working on one piece of my game to get better at, and you see some flaws, and you fight me down the line, and hey, you were watching my goddamn training sessions. I mean, we saw the shit that happened in the MMA world when Lopez released a 30-second clip of sparring. Could you imagine having future opponents watch an entire session day after day? It could be an issue.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting. It is cool, though, because we get to see fighters train together. Like, we saw a cool clip of Brandon Moreno sparring with Valentina Shevchenko. It's just like, things like that wouldn't really happen without the PI. So there's a lot of good, but there's also some potential sketchy parts.
And the friendship between Ngannou and Moreno now, that's kind of cool.
Yeah. So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Because you mentioned enjoying both interviews from Eric Niksicks and Fernand Lopez, and we talked about this before, about thinking that coaches should kind of stay in the behind the scenes and not be in the limelight. But I think the amount of attention that Eric Niksicks is taking is perfect. What do you think?
I 100% agree, because the difference in what he's doing and what Lopez is doing, Niksicks is doing it after the fight, and he was not trying to make this fight about Eric Niksicks. He was very vocal in saying, this fight is about Francis Ngannou. I am here to help Francis. And even when Niksicks does go do interviews, he's answering the question that's asked. He's not shit-talking Strickland's next opponent. He's not releasing anything about Strickland. He's simply answering the question. And I don't know about you, but I would much rather listen to a coach get interviewed than a fighter. I could listen to the same coach's interview over and over again and pick up something new every time, which is so interesting to me.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's a really cool perspective when a coach actually gives an informative interview. Like, Trevor Whitman has given some great interviews too.
And Whitman's a quiet guy who also does a great job of making it about his fighters. Now, when the more you get into MMA, the more you want to hear from coaches, and it's not we want to know how good the coach is. We want to know, what is the coaching side of the game like? Because as you learn when you get older, coaching is much different than fighting. It's just things people don't think about all the time.
Yeah, and it's cool to hear from the coach, like, what, from your perspective, is going to be needed to win the fight. Like, what are you telling our favorite fighter that is going to help them win the fight? That's what we want to hear. We don't want to hear the coach babble on about whatever drama like Fernand Lopez does.
Yeah, and that's a big part of that is on the interviewer as well. So that would be us or an Ariel or a Chael, to ask a question that doesn't put Niksicks in the limelight. It puts Francis in the limelight through the eyes of Niksicks.
Right. It allows the coach to give a unique perspective that the fighter can't give, but still focuses on the fighter or the fight or the fighter situation. Like, Eric Niksicks talked a little bit about how the UFC was behaving towards Francis, and it was cool to hear from his perspective, because he's somebody that works with a lot of fighters, so he's seen how the UFC works with other fighters. So for him to see what they're doing to Francis and for him to give his perspective, I thought was really cool.
Yeah, and I was worried. The Gane versus Ngannou fight was something that was going through my head a lot, and I picked Francis, and I wasn't completely sure. And the second I finished the first Niksicks interview with Ariel before the fight happened, I was confident. I had no issue walking out to the world saying that Francis is going to win, put some money on it. Once I heard the way that Niksicks was talking about Francis and the way that Lopez was talking about, well, actually Francis and Gane in that sense, I was 100% confident. Not that I didn't think Gane was a good fighter, but when two fighters are so evenly matched, sometimes you got to look at the coaches.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely interesting. Moving on. Our last current event topic. This just got stirred up. Actually, we have a couple current event topics I want to talk about that aren't in the notes, so I'll surprise you with them. But first, we have Kamaru Usman moving to 205. He basically said that he wanted to skip over Israel Adesanya at middleweight because obviously we all know that he does not want to fight Izzy, which I like and I respect very much. That being said, and he wanted to go up and fight Jan Blachowicz, which he thought was a good matchup for him. So I just want to talk about, do we think he could have won that fight, and why do we think it didn't happen?
Well, Kamaru said something interesting. He said that he was the pound-for-pound number one, and he wanted to go up and prove it. Pound for pound does not mean you can beat anybody at any weight class. What it means is you are the most skilled fighter. And
I agree.
People also made the point that Kamaru's weight is not that far off from Adesanya's weight, and Adesanya didn't gain much weight for this fight, and Kamaru would definitely have the grappling advantage over Adesanya. But with that said, sometimes, yes, I think Kamaru is a better fighter than Jan in every aspect of mixed martial arts, but my gut feeling says going up 2 weight classes to face a champion just wouldn't work for him.
Mm-hmm. I would agree. I think that's exactly why the fight didn't happen, too. I think the UFC, not necessarily Dana White, but probably the 2 matchmakers, Sean and Mick, just knew better.
Yeah, but could you imagine if it happened and he won? That would be the biggest thing in MMA history. That would take Conor's double champ and throw it out the window. Kamaru would there have the best double champ performance, or
that would be crazy
fight,
because nobody's ever gone up 2 weight classes.
Yeah, it's never happened.
And did you see what Hamzat said? Hamzat said, "Oh, you're trying to run from me before I could fight you. You're trying to leave the weight division before I could get to you." And I just think that's not true at all either.
Was he saying you're trying to run from me, or is he just simply making the point of don't go anywhere until you fight me?
No, I think he said you were trying to get away from me.
Yeah, I mean, I don't agree with that.
Which I think is silly, because if Usman did go up to 205, he would not stay there.
Yeah, no.
I'm sure whether he won or lost, he would keep defending his 170 belt. 100%.
Yeah, and it doesn't really make much sense for Kamaru to wait around for Hamzat to win 2 more fights before he can even be thought of as a title challenger when he has interesting opportunities. And also, I think a Blachowicz match when Blachowicz was the champion makes more money for Kamaru than a Hamzat fight.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. Speaking of Jan Blachowicz, sad news today. Apparently, he is out of his main event fight with Alexander Rakic at UFC Columbus, which I have tickets for, because that's where my girlfriend lives, so I'm going to go visit her and watch UFC. But hopefully they give us a cool new main event for that card. I mean, any ideas of who it could be? Wouldn't it be cool if they got Stipe? When I saw that there was a Columbus card, I was just like, why not Stipe?
Yeah,
why not Stipe? I call him Stipe as a joke, but why not Stipe?
I remember when you were here over Christmas, and I was in the car with you and Emma, and I said, it's weird that Stipe's not fighting on this card. And you said, well, yeah, the UFC hates Stipe. And so I think that's the reason that he's not fighting there. But I saw a pretty interesting tweet. Wouldn't that date be a great idea for Hamzat versus Burns?
No way. If they make that, I will be extremely happy.
That would
because
be
Kai
nuts.
Kara France is on that card too. That'll be a good card.
That
if
would be
Hamzat and Burns
insane.
on it. Where'd you see it? Where'd you see that tweet?
I don't remember. I will go find it and give them credit in our
That would be interesting.
info. But if that Hamzat fight doesn't happen there, I would love to see that added. I know it's too far away, but to that Gaethje card that we'll talk about later with all the Brazilians on it.
That would be cool.
Also with a Jose Aldo Dillashaw on that card.
Damn, you got me excited. Oh, I just saw an update about Dillashaw's knee.
Oh, let's hear it.
Let me pull it up.
Yeah, knee injuries suck. Don't injure your knees.
Yeah.
What Dillashaw? You think Dillashaw will be ready in time for that?
I don't know. I gotta find the update, but it didn't look good. I saw like a video of him actually getting surgery, I don't know if I can find the page. Sorry, guys. I'll post it on Twitter when I find it, and I'll post it on our Instagram for all you guys to see. But let's move on from our current events on to kind of more current events, but they're in their own category because we have so many cool new matchups to talk about that were announced over the weekend and throughout the beginning of this week. First one, it is official. The champion Charles Oliveira is defending his belt against Justin Gaethje, who's the number 2 contender, I think.
Is he not number 1?
No, he's number 2. Poirier, I think, is still number 1. But, yeah, Justin Gaethje versus Charles Oliveira, the fight the people have been asking for a long time. This fight just screams violence.
Yes, it does.
What's your quick prediction?
Oh, this is such an interesting fight because you have Gaethje who could knock out anyone underneath the sun, and you have Oliveira who can submit anyone underneath the sun.
And apparently who can knock out anyone under the sun as well.
Yeah, that's true. So, I mean, we've seen Gaethje walk through some tough shit. We've seen Oliveira walk through some tough shit. If this isn't one of the most intriguing title fights of all time, you need to get your brain checked. And this is the first time since 2016 that we had 3 lightweight title fights within a year span.
Yeah, my quick prediction is Gaethje late knockout, probably round 4 or 5.
My gut's just telling me that Oliveira's going to throw up a 6 sub after getting 10-8.
I think Gaethje is going to be scrambly enough, and I think his takedown defense is going to be good enough.
Gaethje's number 1.
And his chin is he is.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And Gaethje's chin is also going to be strong enough.
Yeah,
and I think Gaethje will be fine as long as Charles doesn't get his back.
Yeah, I need to.
If Charles gets his back, it's good night for Justin Gaethje because we know he's not going to tap.
The one issue that I see, and I'm definitely going to go look more at his breakdowns, is I need to look at his wrestling to see where his head's at. Obviously he has incredible wrestling, but it all depends where you put your head.
If it's going to be vulnerable for the guillotine.
Yeah, but also I've noticed in the last fight against Chandler is that Gaethje ducks a lot. That could be because Chandler doesn't throw high kicks, but I've seen Oliveira a lot
throw high kicks.
But also be able to, when you're in range, he grabs the back of the head, throws an uppercut, and then he'll find a guillotine. And if you guys don't know Charles Oliveira, most submissions in UFC history, and that man has a killer guillotine.
Disgusting guillotine. It's terrifying.
Like, it literally looks like his opponent's heads are about to pop off.
Yeah, well, something tells me that Justin Gaethje is not going to be doing a whole lot of offensive wrestling in this fight.
Not that. I'm saying that if he
does he ever?
No, he doesn't because he wants to be fucking interesting, but he's wasting his career. But I'm saying if he goes to duck under a hook, can Oliveira catch him with a clinch and then throw an uppercut and find a guillotine? Because that man will find a submission from anywhere.
Yeah. Next fight on the same card, second Brazilian champion, Glover Teixeira defending his title against Jiri Prochazka, lightweight contender. Man, what a crazy fight. I mean, what's Teixeira, 42 or 43? And Yuri's not too young either, but he's almost 15 years younger probably, and just has a crazy style. I just rewatched the Dominic Reyes Jiri Prochazka fight, and Jiri Prochazka's just strikes so interesting. Just the variety of kicks and elbows and spinning attacks and punches that come from strange angles because he fights with his hands at his waist. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But my quick thoughts on this fighter is that Teixeira might be able to just lay on him.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I'm going to be honest. I'm a little biased towards Jiri because I don't love Glover. Because I haven't seen him enough.
I don't either. I would love Jiri to win. I think he'd be a great champion. I think he'd be really fun. And I think a fight between him and Jan Blachowicz would be amazing. Like the two Polish crazy strikers.
I have a gut feeling that Glover's going to have a Derek Lewis first gone performance. I feel like Jiri. I have a gut feeling that Jiri is just going to walk through that man.
You think?
I do.
And do you think they're going to make this card in Brazil?
They're going to try their damn best. I've heard that it's not going to be there because of political issues. I don't know exactly what that means. It could be
interesting. So that means we can go to it. I really want to go to this card.
Yeah, when is it?
May 7th.
Fuck. Okay, yeah. But also they say that the Glover Jiri fight is going to be headlining and that the Gaethje Oliveira fight is co-headlining. I definitely think that should be flipped.
I agree. 100% should be flipped. Moving on to our next fight. This one isn't official, but it's been a rumor. Dana White said that it's the fight that they're looking at, and when he says that, it usually happens. Michael Chandler versus Tony Ferguson, and my first reaction is, why is this even a fight? Tony's chin is getting absolutely cracked. Tony's chin is getting cracked, and if you think otherwise, you're insane.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not one to attack fighters because we all know what they'll do to me, but I've been very vocal on Twitter about this matchup, and I think this is as close to a sanctioned murder as you could possibly get. I think that Tony Ferguson is washed as fuck. I think that he has no real skill behind him. He just throws crazy shit, and just Chandler is so good at fighting. And he even has 2 losses. Yeah, he's 2 of the most exciting losses. And we all know what Gaethje said this week, but I still think that was an exciting fight. And I think that fucking Chandler just walks through this guy, and we'll see you at the top.
Probably violently knocks him out.
Oh my god, dude.
Early.
It's going to be... This is Tony Ferguson's last fight. I'm sorry to say
Yeah.
It's
after the beating he took from Justin Gaethje, that changes your career. It doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
And he's been on a skid ever since.
Yeah. I mean, he's lost. And the one reason I don't want to see this is because I wanted an easy fight for Conor's comeback, and I don't think that they'll make this fight if Ferguson loses 4 straight.
Oh, definitely not. Ferguson wouldn't even be ready by the time Conor wants to come back after the beating he's about to take from Michael Chandler.
Yeah.
Moving on, another interesting matchup. Vicente Luque versus Belal Muhammad in the rematch. Props to Belal Muhammad for taking this fight. I mean, Luque knocked him out pretty violently in their first fight. So it says a lot about Muhammad for taking this fight, but I just don't see any other result.
Yeah, no. I don't think there's a chance under the sun. Not even a puncher's chance that Luque loses this.
Yeah, I think it's a really easy matchup for Luque, and I think after he wins this fight, without a question, he deserves the next title shot.
Yeah, I just feel like Belal's last wins, he's just been able to exploit his opponent's weaknesses, and he's had the slight edge in his opponent's weaknesses. But I don't see him having an edge anywhere in this Luque fight. The only thing
both of his last 2 wins were against incredibly one-dimensional fighters.
Exactly.
Damian Maia, all he can do is take you down and submit you. And so Belal Muhammad, the generalist, he's an amazing general specialist. Like, he does everything well. He doesn't do anything amazing. But that is a style that you need to beat somebody who's one-dimensional, like Damian Maia, because all you have to do is defend the single leg, which he did, 22 times in a single fight or something?
Yeah.
And then he beats Wonderboy, which all you have to do is figure out how to cut off his movement and take him down.
Which isn't an easy task, but once
Which isn't an easy task, but if you watch what Gilbert Burns did to him in the last fight, you can figure it out. And being the generalist that Belal Muhammad is, with the cardio that he has, he was able to pull it off. But Vicente Luque is not a one-dimensional fighter. Vicente Luque is a well-rounded, explosive, tenacious killer. And I think it is just bad stylistic matchup for Belal Muhammad.
Yeah, I agree. I don't see it going his way, and mad props to Belal because he's proved me wrong multiple times. But, I mean, I know the eye poke situation in the Edwards fight, but Edwards was going to win that. He was piecing him up. I definitely think that Belal is a good fighter to have in the UFC, but I think he's a career journeyman, and he's going to be a gatekeeper for this division with all the new young guys that we spoke about last episode.
Yep. Definitely going to be cool. Moving on to our next fight. We have Dan Hooker making his featherweight debut against Arnold Allen. And man, similar to Belal Muhammad, just so much respect for Dan Hooker. This man takes tough fights. I mean, if you just look at his last 5 opponents, you have Paul Felder, who's coming off a huge win streak. You have Dustin Poirier, who's coming off a huge win streak. You have Michael Chandler, who just knocked out. I mean, you have Michael Chandler, who's making his UFC debut and who was Bellator champion. You have Nasrat Haqparast, who was on a 5-fight win streak. And you have Islam Makhachev, who was undefeated in the UFC. Or no, was on like an 8-fight win streak. And Arnold Allen now, who is on a massive win streak himself. So this dude just takes hard fights. And He's got balls. He's the definition of a I'll fight you anytime, anywhere fighter, and I love it. But I think it's a tough matchup for him.
Yeah, I think this is such an intriguing matchup, and this is on the London card. And I love Tom Aspinall, but I don't understand why this is not the main event of that card. I think Arnold Allen is one of the most underrated guys in the UFC. I think he's an amazing fighter. I think Hooker's going to be big. He's going to be big for that division. I could definitely see him just using that to his advantage and beating up on some guys, because we all know Hooker will take some damage to win a fight. And I just think Hooker is just the epitome of what a fighter should be. I mean, he leaves his family for months. They even asked him, when will you be able to get back to your home country after this fight? And he's like, I've got no fucking clue. They're like, why did you do this? He's like, I just can't help myself. You offered me a fight, I'm gonna go take it. He's like a schoolyard bully, and he's just like, oh, you want to fight? Yeah, I'm free. Let's do it.
Yep. I think it's going to be a great matchup. It's I haven't done too much looking into it, but what I know from both fighters, I think it's going to be a tough fight.
Yeah, but
for Dan
Hooker's test run test run weight cut was pretty smooth when he dropped down to 145. So I don't think weight's going to be an issue.
He looked really good.
Yeah. So, and we know he didn't have to cut a ton of weight with the whole visa issue. So I wonder if he was just if he just simply wasn't big enough for 145.
Yeah.
Or 155, my apologies.
Yeah. It seems to be that way, especially with how Islam Makhachev easily handled him on the ground.
Yeah.
Moving on. I was super excited about this fight. I think I texted Matthew and screamed fuck yeah when I saw it. Dricus du Plessis taking on my man Chris, the action man Curtis. I don't think you could make a more exciting matchup with two fighters on the UFC roster, if I'm being completely honest with you. Just they're not the two biggest name guys, but two guys that get knockouts, and they either win by knockout or lose by knockout. That's these two guys, both of them. So somebody's getting knocked out, smash the under, smash the fight doesn't go the distance before the line gets really wide. It's probably going to open really wide because the bookies are going to be wise to it. But this is my most anticipated fight of the year so far. It's going to be all action. Dricus du Plessis is a slugger. Chris Curtis starts slow, but he always gets exciting knockouts. Oh, I'm so excited for this fight.
Yeah, we've seen both of these guys fight live, and they were definitely both exciting to watch. And the slow start from Curtis, I think it could spell an issue for him. We saw, obviously, like Kyle said, he always finds a way to come back and win by vicious knockout. But I think du Plessis is a great fighter, and this is definitely a great fight to look out for. And if you're just getting into MMA and want a cool fight to watch, this is definitely one to watch, because like I said, there will be someone separated from consciousness.
Dricus du Plessis' striking defense is not as good as it should be. I just rewatched his knockout of Trevin Giles that we saw live at UFC 264, and right before he knocked out Trevin Giles fucking rocked him. Like, Dricus du Plessis was wobbled when he threw the knockout strike that actually put Giles on his ass. It was kind of crazy. I was like, whoa, I missed that because I hadn't rewatched the fight since we saw it live.
Yeah, my biggest question for this fight, though, is can du Plessis overwhelm Curtis in the first 2 minutes of the fight when Curtis is a notorious slow starter?
And Curtis knows that he's a slow starter, so he can probably just hang back, play defense, get a feel for du Plessis' power and du Plessis' cadence, and then start to do his thing, which is probably why he's a slow starter, honestly. I think he's a slow starter because he takes time to figure out his opponents.
You think he goes with the Jan approach?
Exactly. And once he figures out his opponents, he starts to go to work. You see in all his fights. He just like Petr Yan, his output builds in every single one of his fights. His pace builds in every single one of his fights. And that's because the longer he spends in front of his opponent, the more he starts to figure them out. And once you figure out your opponent, then you can time your counter. You can time your shots. You can time your holes. You know their tendencies. You know that when they throw this right hand, they step a little bit to the right. So you can throw your left hook to meet them there. Boom. That's it. All you have to do is slip that right hand, and you put your left hook just a little bit off and let them step into it. That's what Ian Gary did in his knockout. He talked about it on Ariel's show. He's like, oh, I noticed when Jordan Williams threw his right hand, he stepped forward a little bit. So I knew that I was going to bait him to throw the right hand, which I did. I slipped the right hand, and I knew his head would be exactly where it was, and I didn't even have to look. Just throw the punch blind, and that's what you're able to do when you pick up a read on your opponent, and that's what fighters like Petr Yan and hopefully Chris Curtis are really good at doing.
Yeah, and it's one of the scariest things as a fighter when you realize that moment where you've been figured out. And a great example of firsthand I experienced this was my coach. My Muay Thai coach, James Smith, was a great Muay Thai fighter. He had a trilogy with Uriah Hall back in the day, so he definitely been around for a while. And I'm 132 pounds of lanky bone, and this man is 250 pounds of pure mass. And my coach doesn't spar you until he realizes that you're legit and you're going to be there for a while. So it's kind of like a big day when my coach spars you for the first time. And he called me out, so I was like, oh, fuck. All right, here we go. This is massive for me. So I get in there. We have 3 rounds. First round, I don't think this man threw a strike, but he blocked every single one of mine. Second round, he throws maybe 2. And at the first minute of the third round, I gave him everything I had. He blocked every single shot. He looks me in the eyes and goes, that was everything you had. It's my turn. And then just completely obliterated me for 2 minutes. And it was the scariest 2 minutes of my entire life.
Yeah, it's definitely not a good feeling. All right, moving on to our next fight. On UFC London, Paddy Pimblett versus Kazula Vargas. I really like this matchup. This is a totally winnable fight for Paddy Pimblett. I mean, Kazula Vargas is 2-1 in the UFC so far, and just unimpressive overall. So, yeah, I think this is the kind of matchup we want to see for the young stars. Like we talked about, we want to see them get slow build-ups.
Let's go Vargas. I don't know why. I mean, I have a few reasons that we'll get into as this fight gets closer. But, fuck Paddy Pimblett. I just don't like the dude. I'd love to see him get knocked out.
I'm surprised. I'm surprised you don't like him. Because you like loudmouth Europeans.
It's weird. Like, he's my guy. Like, he's my style. And for some reason, I think it's the haircut. His haircut's just
I don't mind him. I think he's way funnier than Connor. Did you see the video of him the other day talking about fighting a bear?
Who?
Paddy Pimblett.
No.
Somebody asked him, like, if you fought a bear, who would win? And Paddy was like, oh,
yeah.
Paddy's like, I would win. Fucking double leg him and fucking elbow his face off for him. He would hate the double leg, and I just think it's so funny, man. I think it's so funny how fat he gets. Like, bro, he looks like a fucking cartoon character. He looks like, why? What does it matter if he can cut to 155? I don't know. More power to him. Let him enjoy his life. Let him eat what he wants. If he can train and make the weight and win fights, what does it matter?
It just looks unprofessional to me at some points. And
I don't care.
I know. You know what? I think if Paddy can go on a streak where he knocks a few guys out, he definitely got rocked, and he was close to being finished in his debut fight. So if he can go on, have a few impressive wins, I don't think it'll be hard for him to change my mind.
He's a scouser, and they don't get knocked out. Yeah, see, you like him. Get the fuck out of here.
I mean...
Get out of here. You liked that.
His bear comment was funny. That made me chuckle. So that card's also on my birthday. So, Vargas gave me a little birthday present.
Nice. Interesting. I'm surprised that's what you want for your birthday. Well, by the end of 2022, Matthew's going to be a Paddy Pimblett fan.
No, you know what I am getting for my birthday, though? 272.
Let's go. Yeah, we are going to probably go to 272 for Matthew's birthday.
Yeah, and my brother's birthday. It's my brother's 21st birthday in late February, and he hasn't been to Vegas since we were young, and he's never been to a fight, neither is my mom,
nice.
So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Oh, cool. Yeah, so it's going to be a whole family affair. It's going to be such a good time. We'll definitely have an episode coming, maybe 2 episodes coming to you from Vegas in March. That's March, right? March 7th?
March 5th.
Or 5th. Yeah. Oh, so soon. Yeah. It's so soon. What? Okay. Moving on. We got 2 female fights announced. Pena Nunes 2, the rematch is coming, as we all anticipated, and rumor has it that they're going to be the next tough coaches. I like it. I think it's interesting. We haven't had female tough coaches in a while, and I think these 2 will be interesting tough coaches. I don't think Amanda Nunes, Actually, I take that back. I think Amanda Nunes is too selfish to be a tough coach.
I think it's going to be boring as hell. I think
Amanda Nunes is too selfish to be a tough coach.
the one thing is, don't give me any of this, oh, you could have done Masvidal in Covington. They tried. Masvidal said no, apparently. They definitely tried to explore that. I just don't like these tough coaches because I feel like Tough really needed two massive people to get the show back on track.
And Volkan Ortega didn't do it.
Yeah, they didn't do it. And
Who do you think could do it?
Whoever McGregor comes back to fight.
You think they should just have McGregor do another
McGregor
season?
Diaz.
That would be insanity.
That would be awesome.
No, I don't think Nate Diaz would or could do it.
He's
too. He would. What is he gonna do to his fighters?
Yeah, no, I'm just saying it would be awesome. Anyone Conor Conor sells, so I think Conor would sell that. But with Pena, the season that she was on Tough, she was cringy as hell. I think it's
really. I didn't see it.
Oh my god, she was so cringy the entire time. That's the reason I hated her, was because of her Tough season. But I think she's gonna be cringy as hell. She carries the belt everywhere, dude. Like, you want to fight? Like, come on.
Do you know who could do it?
Who?
If they really want, if they're gonna make him fight this fight, let Chandler and Ferguson do it. I think people love Michael Chandler. I think people also love Tony Ferguson, and Tony Ferguson has a good team. Like, he'd bring Eddie Bravo probably to be a coach on Tough, which would be cool. And Tony Ferguson would probably just do crazy shit. And Tony Ferguson will act like a dick to Michael Chandler for the TV. Yeah. And I think it would be just a cool way to, like, say thank you to Tony Ferguson for everything he did for the UFC, because he had a crazy run that entertained a lot of fans. So pay him for being a tough coach, and then let him get murdered, but let him be a tough coach for it. What do you think about that?
It's definitely interesting. I don't know if the Sanford guys could take on any more fighters at this point. But I mean, the producers were gonna have to tell Chandler that he's got to stop filling up 42 minutes of airtime with "See you at the top" and little bootstrap quotes that he's got.
I think he'd be good. No, I think he'd be good.
I think it would be.
I
hilarious.
think Michael Chandler is very skilled at selling himself. He knows the ins and outs of promoting fights, and he knows what Tough is.
Chandler
so I think if he gets on Tough, yeah, but that can't be for this season because they're not fighting. It has to be. We need coaches for the season that's happening this year.
Yeah, I also think Nunez might have a tough time teaching. I feel like she's going to have a tough time getting her point across to people.
Because she's selfish and she's a bitch.
She's just too quiet.
And
she's not very
her.
marketable.
She's selfish and she's a bitch.
Yeah, I'm not watching this season.
Yeah, hopefully they can figure it out and get some good coaches. If they want females to do it, you could have, I don't even know. You could have Rose do it, like, against.
Because could you imagine Whitman coaching these guys? That's an opportunity of a lifetime.
Do you think Rose would bring Whitman if she did it?
I feel like she would. I mean,
why not? It'd be so cool.
Could you imagine your Jacek if she wins a fight and then her and Rose do a season together?
That would be awesome.
That would be awesome.
I think young Jacek would be it would be awesome to have her do Tough again.
A fucking stunner right now, though. You've seen the look of that woman? God
yeah.
Damn, I'd watch that.
I wonder when she's gonna fight.
Soon. She's back in camp.
Yeah. All right, the last fight I have on my notes: Molly McCann versus Luana Carolina, also on the UK card. Another winnable fight for the British fighter Molly McCann. I think I'm not super high on Luana Carolina. What about you?
Yeah, I think McCann's a really good fighter. I think it's gonna be cool for her to fight on the UK card, and I definitely see this as a winnable fight, and I think she'll get it done. On my preliminary, thoughts about it.
Yeah, cool. Well, that's it for new matchups on the horizon for UFC. We'll keep. Oh yeah, another news: Jeremy Stephens no longer with the promotion, which doesn't surprise me.
It was his choice too.
Oh really?
Yeah, he chose not to resign at the UFC.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, so it looks like he's gonna go to PFL, is what I'm hearing.
Who the fuck is that guy? He's gone. That's what he is. I can't wait. I cannot wait for Conor to make a comment about this one day.
Yeah. We got a pretty quiet weekend of fights. No UFC, but we have a loaded Friday. We have ONE FC, we have Eagle FC, and we have Bellator all doing events.
Which one are you
Actually,
watching?
Bellator's on Saturday. So on Friday is my friend Anna's birthday. Shout out Anna. We're going out for her birthday. So hopefully I will get... It's at... Eagle FC starts at 6 p.m. Eastern time, which is 8 p.m. my time. So I might catch the main event.
No, it's 4.
Well, the main card starts at 6.
Yeah, it's 4 o'clock your time.
Oh, right. Haha, I'm 2 hours behind. Yeah, so I definitely won't see that shit. Maybe I'll see it before dinner. But
I'm going to watch it just
back.
for Chael. Chael Sonnen is now a commentator and an analyst for Eagle FC.
Congrats to our good friend Chael.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anytime you give that man a microphone, I'll tune in.
Yeah, so Eagle FC, you got some big names fighting on that card, some ex-UFC fighters. You got Rashad Evans. You got Ray Borg. Is Kevin Lee on this card? No, I don't think Kevin Lee's on this card, but he did sign with the promotion.
Yeah, and he's fighting Diego Sanchez.
Jorgen De Castro, who fought in the UFC, is on this card. I'm trying to see what other names I recognize. Not many others, but yeah, it should be interesting. I'm really excited to see what Khabib does. He should put on a good event, being a high-profile fighter. I'm sure lots of fighters want to fight for him. What are you looking forward to about this card? It's free.
Yeah, that's a big one. I'm definitely looking forward to Khabib's promotion. I'm very interested in what that man's going to do because he's still very young in the world. Maybe not in the fighting world, but in the real world, he's very young. I'm excited to see if they have ring girls, and if they do, what they are wearing. But I think I don't understand all of these fighters getting their own promotion, like Pettis having his own promotion while he's still fighting, and another one doesn't make much sense to me. But I definitely think a promotion like this is very interesting, and I think it could be the promotion that maybe guys who get cut from the UFC go to on a 2-fight deal to try to get their name back. I don't think this will rival the UFC in any sort of near future, even mid-future, probably not even long-term future, but it's definitely something to look out for since, you've got a name behind it. When you take on Bellator and you take on PFL, you each has to have something different that makes them better than the UFC. So the PFL has the tournament. I don't know what Bellator thinks they have, and I guess Eagle FC is going to go off the fact that it's run by Khabib Nurmagomedov. So we'll see if that has any help in rivaling the UFC.
Yeah, and then on Saturday you got Bellator. You got heavyweight title fight between Ryan Bader and Valentin Moldavsky. You got Benson Henderson fighting Islam Mamedov. So there's 2 ex-UFC fighters right there, Benson Henderson and Ryan Bader. I'm not huge on betting on Bellator, but I saw Ryan Bader as the underdog, and just after some little bit of preliminary research that I did earlier today, I think it might be a good dog shot on Ryan Bader. Mainly just because of the price, but Valentin Moldavsky doesn't seem to be a very good wrestler. I think Ryan Bader will be able to exploit that. Yeah, that's just my thoughts. If you want to listen to me, I will be placing a bet. A small bet, that is. Not a confident bet, a small bet on Ryan Bader. So if you guys want to tell me, maybe we'll make some money. But other than that, it's a quiet week. No UFC. No bets to give out. No picks. Just lots of fun matchups.
Yeah.
That was a fun episode.
It was fun.
Quick little 50-minute nugget for you guys. Thank you for listening. As always, happy Monday.
Yep, have a great day.
No, it's not Monday.
It's not Monday. No, this is Friday. We're releasing on Friday. Happy Friday, everyone.
Happy Friday. Sorry, guys. It's been a long week.
Yeah. All right. Have a great day, everyone. The Family Fights podcast will be releasing every Monday and every Friday. In the episodes, we will look back at the most recent card, give updates and opinions on the UFC and other MMA organizations, as well as matchmake and tell you what to look forward to in the next card. Our Instagram and Twitter is The Family Fights Pod, and you can reach out via email at familyfightspodcast@gmail.com. Have a wonderful day, everyone.
Family fights. Let's do it.